and 25 marks, and the seminar is 75 marks. Then gives things about compulsory elements, penalties, pass standard, etc. Okay, so between the calendar and the book of modules, they are the official UCC documents that define the curriculum. Okay? And students are told this, and these are all available publicly. So if you want to look up any course in UCC, if you want to look at its structure, etc., these are the two documents that these are the two websites that give you that information. And then the last thing that defines the curriculum are our marks and standards. And these are published every year, and these are basically with regard to how you pass and progress a program. So if I go so here's the marks and standards for the mechanical engineering, and here you see basically this is the rule with regard to progression to part 2, and it says at least 50% across the taught modules and 50% in the preliminary research project. If you get that, you're then deemed to pass progress. Okay, and then it also, in this case, we award a distinction. No, sorry. Distinction. So if you achieve greater than 70%, you can get a distinction in your Masters.
So that would be a Master 1 and the Master first level?
Yeah.
There are different, in the European Union, there are different levels of Masters, depending on the total score at the end of the program.
Okay, so they're the 3 official documents that describe, and they will be available on the web if you go to, if you search UCC calendar, UCC book of modules, it will bring you to those documents, and you can look up the curriculum for any course in UCC with these documents. Okay, nearly there. The one last thing I thought I'd discuss is just how is the curriculum approved in UCC. So Academic Council is the primary internal authority responsible for academic affairs. So the way UCC is organised is we have a governing body which contains internal members and external members, and the governing body is basically responsible for the finances of the university. And the president of the university, he reports to the governing body. Academic Council consists of all the professors in the university, and the Academic Council is the primary body with regard to academic affairs in the university. And the person who runs Academic Council is the Deputy President and Registrar, and the Registrar is the primary academic in the university. So you have the President, who's basically responsible for the money, and you have the Registrar, who is responsible for the academic affairs of the university. Academic Council is quite a large body. If everybody turned up, and it very rarely happens, you would have over 200 professors in the meeting. So for the running of the university, we have academic board, and most of the powers of Academic Council with regard to the curriculum are delegated to Academic Board. Academic Board consists of roughly 20 people. Okay? So the heads of all the colleges would be on Academic Board, and the heads of the university committees, such as the Curriculum Committee, the Teaching and Learning Committee, the Research Committee, the Ethics Committee, they would all be members of Academic Board. And then there are elected people on Academic Board as well. So even though Academic Council is the number one, the working body is Academic Board. And one of the big things with regard to Academic Board is to approve new programs of study and major changes to existing programs. Okay? And there is a set of rules that basically said, when do you have to apply to Academic Board and when do you not? Okay? But it's Academic Board who approves. However, in the School of Engineering, we've taken the decision, the more eyes who look at the curriculum, the less chance of error. Okay? And that is one thing I would say. Whatever you set up, if you're setting up a program, try and get as many people to look at it as possible, even from outside your discipline, because that way you will minimize error. Okay, you might have to answer some hard questions. Why are you doing this rather than this? But I think minimizing error in the curriculum is paramount. Because if you don't minimize errors, you'll have student appeals, you'll have disappointed students, you'll have angry staff, you'll have so many problems if you don't get the curriculum right. Okay? So if I can give you any message, if you're developing a curriculum, get as many people to look at it as possible. So in the School of Engineering, basically, if we're coming up with a new proposal, the way we work is, first of all, the proposal team would have present to my management committee. Okay? And that is primarily about resources. Do we have enough staff? Do we have the labs? Do we have the equipment, etc., to run the program? Okay, so that would be the first step. And then the second step is we have a school curriculum committee. So the proposal team will present to the school curriculum committee, and I have it going back and forth. That can be a multi-step process of basically getting it right. And then we present to all the academic staff in the school. Okay? Again, to have as many people to look at it as possible. Now, not every proposal will go through this route. Some might be for a minor change, etc. But this is the type of system that I'm trying to run within the school with regard to the curriculum. Okay? Yeah.
How long does it take?
It basically takes the construction is always, and most proposal teams will deny this, but the construction is always the proposal team. If a proposal team comes with the documentation tomorrow, we can approve it as quickly as possible. But I have found that in all curriculum proposals, it is always the proposal team. They will deny it. They will blame everybody else. They will say the meeting isn't scheduled, etc. But if you don't get the documentation done, that's the delay. Okay. So then the university. So after the School of Engineering, there are actually two stages. The first is you don't develop a full proposal and send it up to the university. Normally we have what we call an outline planning. And that goes all the way to academic board. And what that is primarily doing is saying, are you proposing a new title? So titles is the control of academic board. So when we brought in the ME, it was a new title. We had to make a proposal to academic board to use that title. Okay? Also the area. So one of the things that, say for example, if I brought in an ME in, or a Master's, an MNGSC in Artificial Intelligence in Engineering. My colleagues here in computer science would jump up and say, what the hell are you doing? Artificial intelligence is our domain. You can't use that. So, and that would normally happen either at CEFs or academic board. So one of the roles with regard to the outline planning is to see, have you consulted with colleagues in other parts of the university? Are they happy with what you're proposing? You know, so maybe you might develop a course that is about human-computer interfaces. And you should talk to computer science, but you should also talk to one of the ologies, sociology, psychology, I'm not too sure. But, you know, because that's in their domain. So that's one of the roles with regard to outline planning is, are people happy that you've consulted enough? If that happens, then you have full program approval. And as I said, we go through our own process in the School of Engineering. It then goes to CEFs, the Science, Engineering and Food Science. And again, that's very useful because there are people there who are experts on the book of modules, experts on the marks and standards. And they will look and ask the hard questions, does it make sense? You know, I've seen questions, for example, in that module you give 10% for a 3,000 word report, whereas in that module you give 20% for a 2,000 word report. Does that make sense? Is that consistent? So these are some of the questions, the detail going into the curriculum to make sure you have consistency across. And that's why I say have as many eyes look at it as possible. It's difficult. Sometimes you know where you want to go and you know the structure of the masters you want or whatever, and maybe people are asking you hard questions. Why exactly are you doing this? But I just think you need to minimize error with regard to the curriculum. And that's it.
External accreditation, no?
Oh, so, sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't talk about this. What we've gone to with regard to program approval is we set up, so academic board delegates the power to the program approval panel. And every program approval panel will have 2 external assessors on it. A program approval panel will normally also have an employer and a potential student. So as part of the program...
You don't have to put it back to the Ministry of Education.
No.
You have
So
autonomy.
the university has autonomy. So the academic council has delegated that to academic board, and once academic board agrees with the outline planning, they then delegate it to the university program approval panel. Okay?
You're very lucky.
And we've had that power since 1998. Previous to that, it would have been vested in the National University of Ireland.
And when do you involve this body that nominates chartered engineers?
Okay. So Engineers Ireland accredit our programs, okay?
That's what I wanted to know.
And so we just went through a process last November where all of the bachelor's degrees were accredited. You can only get a program accredited when you have had graduates. Okay? So the ME in electrical engineering, we will hopefully be going to accreditation in 2 years, 3 years' time for that.
And do you have QA boards?
So we have a separate quality process in the university. So having just gone through accreditation, I have the joy this summer of the School of Engineering will be assessed from a quality point of view, and we have to do a self-evaluation report.
And do you bring in future employers into that process?
We have to consult with them in both the accreditation by Engineers Ireland and also the quality. We have to get feedback from.
But they're not actual, because you don't have a QA board as such in your department.
No. And we're recommended to have an industrial advisory board. It's not compulsory, but we intend to set one up. Yeah.
Okay. That's going to be critical for launching this master program because they'll need internships.
Yeah.
So they'll have to involve industry. Okay?
Any other questions?
students, almost all our students works. So it's very difficult for them to make an internship.
Where are you from?
Guatemala.
Yeah, this is going to be a real problem for the launch of this program. We've already talked to Isidro and Blanca about this. Yeah, because without internships, where do you go? You've got no research projects. And again, your comment about IP issues, particularly for computer science and robotics, well, and telecommunications. This is going to be, because you have, I saw some of the names that came out of the USA report for El Salvador. And well, you've got people like Dell, which you would probably have potential IP issues with. Anyway, we'll have to talk about that. Yeah.
All I can say about it is and we're very lucky because there is a large demand and the companies want the students. I think worst case is the companies pay the minimum wage in Ireland. So we have a minimum wage of 10 euros an hour or something. So that's the worst case, but what we find is that if the companies want the graduates, they will pay them more.
This will probably be non-paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. But anyway, we have to talk about that later in Slovenia.
Okay. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your time here. And,